Dr. Marcus Webb pulled on his protective gloves and checked his biosuit one more time. The medical bay of the starship New Hope hummed quietly around him as he prepared for the most important surgery of his career. Through the observation window, he could see the wreckage of an alien vessel floating in space, its strange metal hull twisted and broken. 3 hours ago, they had received a distress signal from an unknown species. The message was garbled, but the universal translator had managed to pick up one word clearly: help. Captain Sarah Mitchell had ordered an immediate rescue mission, and they had found only one survivor in the wreckage. Now that survivor lay unconscious on the operating table before Dr. Webb. The creature looked almost human, but there were subtle differences. Its skin had a slightly blue tint, and its fingers were longer than normal human proportions. Most striking were the silver markings that covered its arms and face, forming intricate patterns that seemed to shimmer under the medical bay's lights. "This is incredible," whispered Dr. Webb to his assistant, Nurse Emma Foster. "First contact with an intelligent alien species, and we get to save their life." Emma nodded, her eyes wide with excitement and nervousness. She had trained for many different medical scenarios, but nothing had prepared her for treating a completely unknown life form. The ship's medical computer had been running scans for the past hour, trying to understand the alien's basic biology. "Computer, what do the scans show?" Dr. Webb asked. The artificial intelligence responded in its calm, measured voice. "Subject appears to be carbon-based life form. Internal organs show similarities to human anatomy, but with significant differences. Blood chemistry is unlike any known species in our database." Dr. Webb frowned as he looked at the readings. The alien's vital signs were weak but stable. There were several deep wounds across its chest and one arm, likely from sharp metal debris during whatever accident had destroyed their ship. The injuries looked serious but not immediately life-threatening. "The good news is that our standard surgical procedures should work," Dr. Webb said, picking up his medical scanner. "The basic biology seems compatible with our equipment." He began a more detailed examination of the wounds. The largest cut ran from the alien's shoulder down to its elbow, and it was still bleeding a dark blue fluid that Dr. Webb assumed was their version of blood. The fluid had an odd, almost metallic smell that made his nose tingle even through his suit's air filters. "Emma, prepare the tissue regenerator," he ordered. "We'll start with the smaller wounds and work our way up to the major trauma." As Emma moved to gather the equipment, Dr. Webb leaned closer to examine the shoulder wound. It was deeper than he had initially thought, and he could see what looked like damaged muscle tissue beneath the skin. He would need to be very careful to avoid any major blood vessels or organs that might be different from human anatomy. He picked up a small probe to explore the wound more carefully. The alien's blood had a strange consistency, thicker than human blood but somehow more fluid at the same time. It clung to his instruments in an unusual way, almost like it was trying to coat them completely. "That's odd," he muttered, holding up the probe. The blue blood had formed a perfect film over the metal surface, and it seemed to be moving slightly, as if it were alive. "Doctor, look at this," Emma called from across the room. She was holding a sample vial that contained some of the alien blood they had collected for testing. "The blood is doing something strange." Dr. Webb looked over and saw that the blood in the vial was indeed behaving unlike anything he had ever seen. It was forming small, bubble-like structures that grew and popped in a regular pattern. Each time a bubble formed, it seemed to release a tiny amount of gas that made the sample glow faintly. "Fascinating," Dr. Webb said. "Their blood must contain some kind of chemical compound that reacts with oxygen. That might explain why the wounds haven't clotted properly." He turned back to his patient, determined to solve this medical puzzle. Using a small suction device, he began to clear the blood from the main wound so he could see the damage more clearly. The alien's breathing was shallow but steady, and their heart rate seemed stable according to the monitors. As he worked, Dr. Webb felt a growing sense of excitement. He was literally making history, performing the first medical procedure on an alien life form. The techniques he developed here might be used for decades to come as humanity made contact with other species throughout the galaxy. The wound was cleaner now, and he could see that the damage was mostly superficial. The alien's muscle structure was remarkably similar to human anatomy, just arranged slightly differently. He was confident that he could repair the injury using standard surgical techniques. Dr. Webb reached for his microsuture device to begin closing the wound. As he leaned over the patient, he felt something wet and warm on his left hand. Looking down, he saw that some of the alien blood had splashed onto his glove during the cleaning process. At first, nothing seemed wrong. Then he noticed a small tear in the glove's fabric where the blood had landed. His heart began to race as he realized what was happening. The alien blood was eating through his protective equipment. Within seconds, the tear had grown larger, and he could feel the warm fluid making direct contact with his skin. The sensation was unlike anything he had ever experienced, a burning, tingling feeling that spread rapidly up his arm. "Emma!" he shouted, stepping back from the table. "Emergency protocols, now!" The burning sensation was getting worse, and he could see that his skin was turning red where the alien blood had touched it. Whatever chemical properties made the blood so unusual, they were apparently highly corrosive to human tissue. Alarms began blaring throughout the medical bay as the ship's computer detected the contamination breach. Dr. Marcus Webb stumbled backward from the operating table, clutching his burning hand against his chest. The alien blood continued to eat through what remained of his protective glove, and the pain was unlike anything he had ever felt. It was not just heat, but a deep, penetrating sensation that seemed to reach into his bones. "Emma, get the emergency wash station ready," he shouted over the blaring alarms that now filled the medical bay. Nurse Emma Foster rushed to the decontamination unit, her hands shaking as she activated the emergency protocols. She had never seen Dr. Webb look so frightened, and that scared her more than the situation itself. He was always calm and in control, even during the most difficult surgeries. The ship's computer voice echoed through the room with mechanical precision. "Contamination breach detected. Medical bay sealed. All personnel remain in current positions until further notice." Dr. Webb reached the wash station and thrust his hand under the powerful spray of neutralizing solution. The liquid was designed to handle any known biological or chemical hazard, but as it hit the alien blood on his skin, something unexpected happened. Instead of washing the blood away, the solution seemed to make it spread faster. "It's not working." Dr. Webb gasped, watching in horror as the burning sensation climbed up his arm. The alien blood was now eating through his biosuit sleeve, leaving behind patches of raw, blistered skin wherever it touched. Emma grabbed a medical scanner and pointed it at Dr. Webb's contaminated arm. The device beeped frantically before displaying a message she had never seen before: "Unknown biological agent detected. Standard treatment protocols ineffective." Meanwhile, the alien patient on the operating table remained unconscious, but something remarkable was happening to their wounds. The deep cuts that had been bleeding heavily just minutes before were now closing on their own. The torn flesh was knitting itself back together at a speed that defied everything Emma knew about biology. "Doctor, you need to see this," she called out, trying to divide her attention between helping Dr. Webb and monitoring their patient. Dr. Webb looked over, still trying to wash the corrosive blood from his arm. Through his pain, he could see that the alien's injuries were healing without any medical intervention. The shoulder wound that had been several inches long was now just a thin line on the alien's skin. "That's impossible," he whispered. "Nothing heals that fast without accelerated treatment." The ship's communication system crackled to life, and Captain Sarah Mitchell's voice filled the medical bay. "Dr. Webb, report your status immediately. The bridge is showing multiple medical alerts from your location." "Captain, we have a serious problem," Dr. Webb replied, his voice strained with pain. "The alien's blood is highly corrosive to human tissue. I've been exposed, and our standard decontamination procedures are not working." There was a pause before Captain Mitchell responded. "How serious is the contamination? Do we need to evacuate the medical bay?" Emma looked at Dr. Webb's arm and felt her stomach turn. The alien blood had now burned through several layers of his protective suit, and the skin underneath was turning an angry red color. Worse, the blood seemed to be multiplying somehow, spreading even without direct contact with the original source. "Captain, I recommend sealing off this entire section of the ship," Dr. Webb said through gritted teeth. "Until we understand what we're dealing with, no one else should be exposed." As if responding to their conversation, the alien patient began to stir on the operating table. Their strange silver markings started to glow more brightly, and their breathing became stronger and more regular. Emma checked the vital signs monitor and was amazed to see that all readings were moving toward normal levels. "The patient is waking up," she reported. "And doctor, their blood chemistry is changing. The computer is detecting new compounds that weren't there before." Dr. Webb forced himself to focus on the readings despite the burning pain in his arm. The medical scanner showed that the alien's blood was becoming more complex by the minute, developing new chemical structures that the ship's computer could not identify. "It's like their body is adapting," he said in wonder. "Creating new defenses or responses to our environment." The alien's eyes suddenly opened, revealing pupils that were completely black and seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They looked around the medical bay with obvious confusion, taking in the flashing warning lights and the two humans in their protective suits. The alien tried to sit up, but Emma gently pressed them back down onto the table. "Please don't move," she said, hoping the universal translator would convey her meaning. "You were injured. We're trying to help you." The alien's head turned toward Dr. Webb, and their expression changed to what looked like concern. They spoke in a language that sounded like musical tones mixed with clicking sounds. The universal translator struggled for a moment before producing a rough translation. "You are hurt because of my life water?" the alien asked, using their word for blood. Dr. Webb nodded, still holding his damaged arm. "Your blood burned through my protective equipment. We didn't know it would be dangerous to humans." The alien's markings flashed brighter, and they spoke again. This time the translator worked more smoothly. "I am sorry. My people's life water is made to protect us from the dangers of our world. It does not know the difference between enemy and friend." As they talked, Emma noticed something alarming on her scanner readings. The alien blood that had contaminated Dr. Webb was not just burning his skin anymore. It was changing his cellular structure at the molecular level, rewriting his DNA in ways that should have been impossible. "Doctor," she said quietly, "I think we need to contact the science department immediately. This isn't just a medical emergency anymore." The alien patient slowly sat up on the medical table, moving with careful, deliberate motions. Their silver markings pulsed with a soft light as they looked around the sealed medical bay. Dr. Marcus Webb watched from across the room, still clutching his burned arm while Nurse Emma Foster kept her scanner trained on both of them. "My name is Kale," the alien said, their voice now coming through the universal translator much more clearly than before. "I am from the planet Zirian. You saved my life, but I have caused you harm in return." Dr. Webb stepped closer, despite Emma's worried look. The pain in his arm was still intense, but his scientific curiosity was stronger than his fear. "How is your blood so dangerous? And how are you healing so quickly?" Kale looked down at their arms, where the deep wounds from the crash had already sealed completely. Only faint silver lines remained where the cuts had been. "On Zirian, everything tries to kill you from the moment you are born. The air burns your lungs if you breathe it wrong. The water will dissolve your bones if you drink it without proper preparation. Even the plants shoot poison darts when you walk too close." Emma's eyes widened as she listened to the translation. "That sounds like an impossible place to live." "For most beings, yes," Kale agreed. "Many species have tried to colonize Zirian over the centuries. None have survived more than a few days. But my people evolved there over millions of years. Our bodies learned to fight back against everything that tried to destroy us." Dr. Webb examined his own arm, where the alien blood was still causing damage despite their attempts to wash it away. "So your blood is like a weapon?" "Not a weapon by choice," Kale explained, their markings dimming slightly as if they were sad. "Our life fluid contains what you might call defensive chemicals. They attack anything that is not from Zirian. It is how we survive when everything else on our world is trying to poison us or eat us alive." The medical bay's computer suddenly announced new scan results. "Analysis complete. Alien blood contains over 300 unknown chemical compounds. Estimated toxicity level, fatal to 97% of known galactic species." Kale's expression showed surprise. "You have encountered other worlds and peoples? We thought we were alone in the universe." "There are thousands of species spread across the galaxy," Emma explained. "Most of them live on worlds that are much more peaceful than yours." "Peaceful worlds," Kale repeated, as if the concept was difficult to understand. "What is that like?" Dr. Webb managed a weak smile despite his pain. "Well, most planets don't have air that tries to kill you. Plants usually just sit there and photosynthesize. The biggest danger might be bad weather or the occasional predator." Kale stood up from the medical table, moving with fluid grace that showed no sign of their recent injuries. "That sounds wonderful, but also very strange. How do your people grow strong if nothing challenges them?" "We don't need to be as strong as you," Emma said. "Our home planet, Earth, has its dangers, but nothing like what you're describing." "Earth?" Kale repeated, testing the word. "Tell me about this peaceful world." Dr. Webb looked at Emma, and they both realized how different their perspective was from this alien's experience. "Well, we have storms sometimes, and earthquakes. Some animals are dangerous. Disease can be a problem." Kale's markings brightened with what seemed like interest. "Ah, so Earth does test its children. How do your people handle disease?" "We have medicine," Emma explained. "Doctors like Dr. Webb can treat most illnesses and injuries." "But what about the truly dangerous sicknesses? The ones that kill quickly and spread through the air. Dr. Webb thought about humanity's history with plagues and pandemics. Those are rare, but when they happen, they can be devastating. We've learned to create vaccines and treatments over time. Kale nodded slowly. On Zirian, we face 7 different deadly plagues every season. Our children must survive all of them to reach adulthood. Those who do become immune to almost any disease. The implications of this statement hit both humans at the same time. If Kale's people were naturally immune to most diseases, and their blood was toxic to other life forms, they represented something unprecedented in the galaxy. Kale, Dr. Webb said carefully, how many of your people exist? Our population is small, Kale admitted. Perhaps 50 million spread across the safe zones of our planet. We do not reproduce quickly because raising children on Zirian requires so much energy and protection. Emma was running calculations on her scanner. Doctor, if their blood is toxic to 97% of galactic species, but they are immune to most diseases themselves. They're the ultimate survivors, Dr. Webb finished. Evolution created a species that can survive anything. Kale looked between the two humans with growing understanding. You fear us now. You think we are too dangerous to be around other people. Not fear, Dr. Webb said honestly. Respect. Your people have survived conditions that would wipe out any other species we know. That's incredible. But it also means we can never leave our world without hurting others, Kale said sadly. Your pain proves that we are poison to the peaceful galaxy you describe. Emma suddenly looked up from her scanner with excitement. Wait, I'm reading something new. Dr. Webb, your cellular damage isn't getting worse anymore. It's stabilizing. Dr. Webb looked at his arm in amazement. The burning sensation was fading, and the red, blistered skin was starting to look normal again. That's impossible. How can I be healing from exposure to something that toxic? Kale's markings pulsed brighter. Perhaps your people are stronger than you think. Captain Sarah Mitchell entered the medical bay wearing a full containment suit, her face visible through the clear faceplate. She had been monitoring the situation from the bridge, but the reports were so unusual that she needed to see things for herself. Behind her came Dr. James Carter, the ship's lead xenobiologist, carrying equipment to take additional samples. Dr. Webb, how are you feeling? Captain Mitchell asked, examining his arm through her suit's visor. Much better, actually, Dr. Webb replied, rolling up his sleeve to show her. The burning has stopped completely, and look at this. Where the alien blood had burned through his skin just an hour before, new tissue was growing back at an incredible rate. The damaged area was healing faster than anything Dr. Webb had seen in his 20 years of medical practice. Dr. Carter set up his equipment and immediately began taking readings. This is remarkable, he said, studying the data on his portable scanner. Your human cells are not just healing, they're adapting. Your body is learning to resist the alien blood's toxic effects. Kale watched the humans with great interest. The alien silver markings had dimmed to a soft glow, and they seemed more relaxed than when they first woke up. Your species surprises me, Kale said to Captain Mitchell. On Zirian, most creatures die within minutes of contact with our life fluid. Captain, Emma interrupted, you need to see what the long-range scanners picked up. Captain Mitchell walked over to the main display screen that Emma had activated. The image showed deep space around the wreckage of Kale's ship, but now there were new energy signatures appearing on the edge of their sensor range. More ships? Captain Mitchell asked. 12 vessels, approaching at high speed, Emma confirmed. They are broadcasting on the same frequency as Kale's original distress signal. Kale's marking suddenly flashed bright silver. My rescue fleet, they said with obvious relief. They found my emergency beacon. Dr. Carter looked up from his scanning equipment with concern. Captain, if all of those ships contain beings like Kale, and their blood is toxic to most known species. I understand the implications, Doctor, Captain Mitchell said grimly. We could be looking at first contact with a species that's unintentionally deadly to the rest of the galaxy. Kale seemed to understand their worry. My people do not wish harm to others. We have searched the stars for many years, hoping to find friends among the cosmos. But everywhere we go, our very presence brings death. Tell me about these other encounters, Captain Mitchell requested, settling into a chair near the medical table. 3 times before, we found worlds with intelligent life, Kale began, their voice carrying sadness even through the translator. The first was a beautiful planet with tall, graceful beings who welcomed us with joy. Within days, their entire city was dead. Our breath, our touch, even the water we drank became poison to them. Dr. Webb felt a chill run down his spine. What happened to the other two encounters? Similar tragedies, Kale continued. We learned to keep our distance, to observe from afar rather than make contact. But accidents happen. Ships crash. People get hurt and need help. Dr. Carter was studying his readings more carefully. Kale, tell me about your home planet's environment. Specifically, what makes it so dangerous? Where do I begin? Kale asked, their markings brightening slightly. The atmosphere contains acids that would dissolve most metals. The radiation from our sun changes the chemistry of everything it touches. Even our oceans are filled with creatures that are pure poison to touch. And your people evolved to survive all of this? Emma asked in amazement. We had no choice, Kale replied. Adapt or die, as you might say. Over millions of years, our bodies became walking chemical factories, producing everything we need to neutralize the dangers around us. Captain Mitchell was beginning to understand the bigger picture. So your blood isn't just defensive against your planet's dangers. It's defensive against everything that isn't from your world. Exactly, Kale confirmed. To us, every other world we have found seems impossibly clean and safe. But our bodies do not understand this. They treat everything as a potential threat. Dr. Carter suddenly looked up from his scanner with excitement. Captain, I'm reading something extraordinary. Dr. Webb's blood chemistry has changed significantly since his exposure to Kale's blood. Changed how? Dr. Webb asked, suddenly worried that he might be developing some kind of alien infection. Your immune system has become much more active, Dr. Carter explained. It's as if exposure to Kale's blood taught your body to fight harder against foreign substances. I'm also detecting trace amounts of compounds that shouldn't exist in human biology. Kale's eyes widened with surprise. That should not be possible. Contact with our life fluid has always meant death for other species. Maybe humans are different, Emma suggested. Our planet Earth isn't as dangerous as Xerion, but we've had to deal with our share of challenges over the centuries. Captain Mitchell stood up and walked to the main communication panel. This changes everything. If humans can survive contact with Kale's people, we might be the bridge they need to join the galactic community. Bridge? Kale asked, unfamiliar with the concept. A connection, Captain Mitchell explained. Someone who can work safely with your people and help them interact with others without causing harm. For the first time since waking up, Kale's markings showed what could only be described as hope. The silver patterns on their skin pulsed with warm, steady light as they considered the possibility of their people finally finding a place among the stars. 2 days later, the bridge of the New Hope was filled with tension as 12 massive alien ships approached their position. Captain Sarah Mitchell stood at the main view screen, watching the Xerion rescue fleet emerge from hyperspace. Their vessels were unlike anything in the galactic database, built with thick, dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They look like fortresses, Dr. Webb observed, standing beside the captain with his arm now completely healed from the alien blood exposure. In fact, he felt stronger than he had in years, as if Kale's toxic blood had somehow improved his own biology. Kale stood at the communication station, their silver markings glowing brighter than anyone had seen before. The alien was clearly excited to see their people again, but also nervous about how this first contact would proceed. Kale, are you ready to speak with your fleet? Captain Mitchell asked. Yes, but I must warn them about what has happened, Kale replied. They will be shocked to learn that humans can survive contact with our life fluid. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at the bridge of the lead Xerion ship. 3 aliens similar to Kale appeared on screen, but their markings were different colors, gold and blue instead of silver. The largest of the 3 stepped forward. I am Commander Zara of the Xerion Defense Fleet, the alien said through the universal translator. We have come to retrieve our lost crew member and apologize for any damage caused by the crash. Captain Mitchell stepped into view of the camera. Commander Zara, I am Captain Mitchell of the human vessel New Hope. Your crew member is safe, and there is no need for apologies. We were happy to help. Commander Zara's marking shifted to what looked like confusion. You say Kale is safe, but our sensors detect traces of Xerion life fluid on your ship. How are you still alive? That's what we need to discuss, Captain Mitchell replied. We believe humans may be unique in the galaxy. We can survive exposure to your people's biology. On the alien ship, the 3 Xerion officers exchanged glances that clearly showed disbelief. Commander Zara spoke quietly to her companions before addressing the human ship again. This is not possible, she said. We have encountered 17 different species across the galaxy. Contact with our life fluid has always resulted in immediate death. Dr. Webb stepped forward. Commander, I was directly exposed to Kale's blood. It burned through my protective equipment and damaged my skin, but I survived. More than that, I think it made me stronger. To prove his point, Dr. Webb rolled up his sleeve and showed his arm to the camera. Where the alien blood had burned him, his skin now looked perfectly normal, but with a slight shimmer that hadn't been there before. Commander Zara's gold markings flashed rapidly, a sign of extreme surprise. Show us your medical readings, she demanded. Dr. Carter stepped into view and transmitted their scan data to the Zirian ship. For several minutes, there was silence as the alien medical team analyzed the information. Impossible, one of the other Zirian officers whispered, but the translation carried across the communication link. Your species has something we have never encountered before, Commander Zara said slowly. Your biology adapts to threats instead of simply dying from them. Kale moved closer to the screen. Commander, these humans are different from all the peaceful species we have met. They come from a world that challenges them, just as Zirian challenges us. Tell me about this human homeworld, Commander Zara requested. Captain Mitchell smiled and began to describe Earth. Our planet has extreme weather, dangerous animals, and diseases that have killed millions of our people throughout history. We've had to fight for survival, just not to the same degree as your people. And your species has survived and grown strong, Commander Zara observed. More than survived, Dr. Webb added. We've spread across our solar system and now travel between the stars. Every challenge has made us more resilient. Commander Zara was quiet for a long moment, consulting with her officers. Finally, she spoke again. For 300 years, my people have believed we were cursed to wander the galaxy alone, bringing death wherever we went. You are telling us this may no longer be true. We're telling you that humans might be able to work alongside your people safely, Captain Mitchell confirmed. And if we can do it, maybe we can help you find ways to interact with other species too. On the screen, Commander Zara's markings shifted to colors that the Universal Translator identified as hope and excitement. Captain Mitchell, my government has authorized me to make an unprecedented offer. What kind of offer? An alliance between our species. The Zirian Collective has resources and knowledge that could benefit humanity greatly. Our people have explored regions of space that other species consider too dangerous to enter. We have found planets rich in rare elements, but we cannot share this information with the galactic community because our presence would kill them. Captain Mitchell felt her heart racing with excitement. This could change everything for humanity's expansion into space. But with humans as partners, Commander Zara continued, we could explore these dangerous worlds together. Your people could establish colonies in places where others cannot survive, and we could share the discoveries. Dr. Webb looked at his healed arm and thought about how much stronger he felt since his exposure to Kale's blood. Captain, I think this partnership could benefit both species in ways we haven't even imagined yet. Kale's silver markings pulsed with pure joy. My people will no longer be alone in the universe. And humanity will have access to parts of the galaxy we never dreamed of reaching, Captain Mitchell replied, extending her hand toward the screen in a gesture of friendship. Commander Zara mimicked the gesture, and for the first time in centuries, the Zirian people had found someone who could stand beside them among the stars.